I mentioned that so many of the people I play, you notice very dramatically the improvement of them, especially when you go back and watch some of the videos from the first like month or few months or even half a year. From those times to now, the improvement is pretty dramatic. And it's pretty interesting because I think recognizing your own improvement is very hard for a lot of people. I always compare it to losing weight. A lot of times you notice when your friend is losing weight and you say to them, "Oh my God, you've lost so much weight. You look great." You know, they always say the same thing, which is like, "Oh, thanks. I don't really notice it. I might have lost some, but I don't know. It's hard to tell." Or like owning a cat and then one day you're like, "Why is my cat so big?" Or like, "Why is my dog humongous? Didn't you used to like, sit on my lap and now you're like 60 pounds? Like what happened?" And when it's on your own frame and you're staring at yourself or your own gameplay in this case, it's very tough to see your improvement from this day to this day to this day to this day because you see it every day. And I'll say for starters, it's very unlikely that if you're playing the game all the time, you're getting worse. Building muscle takes a lot of time and effort, but maintaining your muscle, or in this case, skill, I think is not that much work. To like maintain or only slightly improve, you don't have to play as much. If you're playing, 3, 4, 5 days a week, and then you go down to playing like twice a week, you're not going to get worse. Just because you're losing more or less, it's not like you're worse all of a sudden. It could just be that the person you're playing is better, or you're having an off day, or it could be a number of things, right? Even if you take pretty sizable breaks, you will catch back up to where you were before very quickly. So don't like lose one time and be like, "I must be terrible." And the way to figure out if you're actually improving is mostly going to be small stuff. It's things that you used to think about, you now are trying. Not even doing it correctly, but you used to think, "Oh, you know what? I should do more. I should do that." You went into training mode, you like tried it, or you tried it in a match, you did it a little bit more, and then now you're doing it more often. And then at some point, it'll just be something you do naturally without thinking about it. Things that are bad habits that you used to have, you've cut out of your game. You're like, "Okay, I don't do this bad habit anymore. I have this bad habit, which I'm working on, but these 1 or 2 or 3 other bad habits I've gotten rid of." Things that used to be really hard for you to do all the time are now only a little bit difficult, or you execute them most of the time, or like 70, 80, 90% instead of 10, 20, 30. You find yourself actively thinking about those things and changing them and improving them. Even if your success ratio is not perfect, if it's better than it was before, you've improved. And I think even players who are at the top level really get down on themselves over like small losses or losing. And I think in the beginning, you have so much to learn, right? Like there's this much in the world to learn. There's everything. So it feels really easy to improve because you can pick any location to start. And even if you get a little bit better, it's dramatic. Once you get to a certain point, the amount of things to improve on narrows. And as it narrows, fixing small things and making minor improvements is really hard to notice by comparison to like, I didn't used to know what crouch blocking does, and now I do. I dramatically can feel the difference in knowing how crouch block works versus like I used to be, 80% on this combo or this air throw or this sequence, and now I'm like 85%. Like that increase feels so small. It's a big deal to find those little bits of improvements. And most of the time, the easiest way to remind yourself that you are improving is to go way back. Just go back further than you thought. Like go watch a match of yours or think about your gameplay from 4 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, and just think, "Man, I did not even know how to play the video game at all. I'm dreadful. I'm doing bad combos and making bad choices and doing all this bad stuff." I still am, probably not as good as I can be, but it used to be so much worse. Set small, reasonable goals for improvement that are not just like, "I need to win more." And if you don't reach them, it's okay. You sit down in a session, you're like, "Today I'm going to air throw," and you never air throw anybody. It's fine. As long as you try to do it more, it's okay. The thing is sometimes the way to do something is to go all in. Like if you're like, "I need to use more arbiter sign," use it like 500% more. Maybe you only need to use it like 10% more, but just do it a lot and then scale down. There's a scalable line of like, "Okay, I'm doing this too soon, so let's do it later. I'm doing it too late, so let's do it earlier. I'm doing too much, so let's do less. I'm doing less, so let's do more. I'm not doing it at all, and I probably need to be doing it. Or I'm doing it and I should stop." Like it's so much better to just start doing it and then scale down to where it is a reasonable amount rather than like, "I should use it more, but I don't know how to use it. So I guess I'm just not going to use it," right? What's the worst thing that happens? Like you do too much arbiter sign and you lose? Okay. Well, the next game, just do a little less. Yeah, just Goldilocks it. Like when I play a new card game, as an example, I don't know what like any of the cards are ever. I'm always just like, okay, I'm gonna play stuff and I have no idea what my opponent has ever, and I have to figure out all the new cards. And like over time, you recognize, oh, I probably shouldn't do that here, or I'm dying like this, or I'm dying like that, or I'm dying. It's the same thing with a fighting game. It's the same thing with a shooting game. Same thing with improving on any skill. You have to throw yourself at it and then scale back and figure things out by some trial and error and just being okay. Like, well, I guess I died there. Why did I die there? And also another thing about improvement, very often when you need to improve, you have to do something that you do that's like pretty fine, but maybe not the best thing. Change to a new idea. And when you change to this new idea, on the way, you're going to be terrible at it. And you're going to be thinking, if I just did my old strat, I bet you it would work. But that's not getting you there long term, right? If the top end of that strategy is here, the new strategy is like this much better. It's just while you're learning it, you're going to get beat up and you're going to be like, dude, if I just did my old whack strategy, I would probably win. For right now, I'll get smoked. But in the future, I'll be gaming. Everything will work out. It'll be okay. I'm not mentally ready to watch my own replay. Have you before? It sucks, but like, it's not that bad. You don't have to do it all the time, but every once in a while, it's a good point of reference. It's like reading old code. Yeah, but it's the same thing. If you've looked at your old code, it's embarrassing, but also it's like liberating because you're like, man, I know so many ways to do that better now. Improvement is also realizing where you messed up. If you look at the screen and you're like, oh, yeah, I should not have done that. That is an improvement right there. Even if you do it again, you knowing that you shouldn't do it is an improvement. When I watch my own gameplay, I always know exactly what I'm going to do all the time. When you watch your old gameplay, you're like, oh my God, why would I do that there? And then you end up in a bad spot and you're like, well, I deserve that. I don't know why I put myself in this dreadful position to begin with. Yeah, I think taking a break is healthy too. You should definitely take some breaks and come back. Spend a couple days playing like some other games with your homies. It could just be something vibing, or don't play any games. And then come back, you'll feel and play much better. However long of a break you think you need, you should take, is my advice. Yeah, you got to look back at your old stuff so that you can be like, man, I was a Neanderthal literally stumbling about in a cave, and now I know how to do this shit. Now I understand.
Listen.
Dude, I see the anime cars here all the time. Yeah, they are everywhere here. You pull up and like the entire back is just like boba tea, bubbles, and anime girl. It's like always something. There's always the little shark VTuber and giant decals of like fucking Kill la Kill. What's that VTuber's name? Horson? Horson? Horson will be funny every time. You know that?